Welcome back to VDVRE Arcade. In today's video, Fred, Eddie the Eagle, and I are going to discuss making a base cover for your Dof Reality H4 motion simulator. Now, I have already made one for my H2, but because these frames are so radically different, I'm going to be forced to make another one if I want to cover it again. And that's fine. I want to make sure my cat can't get into the gears. That comes and hangs out in the shop with me all the time. And personally, I think it makes them look cooler. And this is kind of like my hot rod. It's my VR hot rod. So I'm going to trick it out a little bit with a base cover. So with that being said, I've already measured everything and took all the measurements for the holes and everything that I need to be able to create a digital file. But while I was doing that, I noticed one thing in particular that you cannot do like you can with the H2, and that is to follow the frame. When I made the H2 cover, I was able to follow the frame for the top covers, for the end covers, and had no clearance issues at all. If you do that with the front half for the top of this one, you will run into this gear right here. If I turn this a little bit so you can kind of see, you will notice that this gear right here sticks out further. So you have to extend past and come down, and it kind of sucks because now you don't have a frame and you're floating out into space, where with the H2 you still had a frame that you could follow along, which was nice. But it is doable. You just got to do a couple different things to make it work. But what is that distance? How far do you do it to still keep it nice and compact? Because anybody can do it really far and know that they're going to have clearance, but then you start making it bulky, and we don't want that. We want to keep the streamline effect of it and keep it tight. Well, I figured that out when I was measuring it and I was designing it and writing everything down on this. So let's take a look at how I turned this into a digital file that I can route on my CNC machine. So here's the panel, and you'll notice I've already done some writing on it, and I'd like to be able to report that I'm perfect and I don't make mistakes and that I did everything awesome and it lined up perfectly, but that is not the case. I made 2 mistakes, one more bigger than the other, but nonetheless, they need to be fixed to make the panel work properly. And the first one is right here, this hole. It needed to line up to this edge here, and I lined it up to this edge. The actual measurement distance is correct. I just lined it up to the wrong edge. So this one's completely off. This one here was off a little bit on the height. I looked at the wrong measurement of about a 1/2 inch instead of the 3/8 inch. So that 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch of a difference is off. And somehow it shifted like a 1/4 of an inch this way. And I don't know if that's because it actually moved on me, because my dimension was correct when I looked at it. But how it shifted on me, I don't know. I might have grabbed it and it moved and I didn't notice it moved. That can happen when you're doing something with all these circles and you don't pay attention. If you're zooming in and zooming out, it's just how it works sometimes. So I'll fix that. The stuff that I wrote up here, everything lines up, but it is off slightly to one side. I could live with it if there were no problems and the panel was good to go. I wouldn't need to change them. But since I'm going to redo it, I'm just going to make them a little bit nicer, a little more centered. And then the other thing is this piece right here, this point, needs to be flattened out, because this flange here will be bent and it'll interfere with that. And I don't want that, because this is another flange. This is the flange I'm going to bend this way to allow it, my front panel, to screw in here. So I have a place to screw, because remember now, this panel is going to be sticking off. If I kind of line it up where it needs to go, this panel is going to be sticking off that much. Let me see. Let me rotate that. See? So if I line it up where it's kind of going, see how much that sticks off there? So this flange bends and allows me a way to attach my front without screwing into anything. So that's I got to fix. Other than that, that's really all that's got to be fixed. And it's pretty good for the most part. I expected this. I had to do a couple of them when I was doing the H2. So that's why I just run a test panel first, because some of the stuff relies on each other, the top panels, and I don't want to wreck $60 in aluminum. $2 or $3 of an aluminum isn't going to kill me. But yeah. Anyways, let's get back to cutting a good one so we can keep moving forward. All right, so I got this mounted, and this is my 3rd attempt. If you look at it closely enough, you'll see that there's 2 lines here now on this one. I fixed the stuff that I talked about previously, routed the piece, brought it up here, took these 2 bolts off so that I could get it flush against the frame and see how it looked, because it looked real good just eyeing it, you know. And then when I did that, I noticed that down here, this bar right here was sticking out. Too far for me to be able to leave it alone and just try and attach it, because when you have a flange with holes at a predetermined spacing and you bend it, they're not going to line up, and that's a problem. So I had to go back to the drawing board and add this one. Now, for some reason, this one sticks out way further than these ones. These ones, you can feel it a little bit, but they're almost flush, these 3 spots on these brackets that hold the motor mounts and then the SFU gears. So I don't get it, but it is what it is. So I had to make a 3rd one. Ended up blowing another $5-8 on that other piece of aluminum. So I'm out, say, $20 on aluminum. I'm still ahead of the curve as if I was to buy a cover for it from DOF. So I'm not going to complain. And mine's a little more custom. I can paint it how I want, do a little bit different things with mine that way. So I'm still happy with what I've turned out. But because I know that that is legit, I went ahead and routed the rest of the pieces. Here's the other side. You can kind of see the holes that I slotted in here like this. And then here is the 2 top pieces. for the back. This one is the one that gets bent. You can see the little notches. It'll get bent, but I line it up with the holes and it lines up great. Lines up good there. So that should be solid. Trying to get this flanged here. It's a little goofy, but it's close, but it will work. But it's only like about a 1/16 of an inch. So real tight, but I don't have to redo that one. This one is the back one. Everything lines up beautiful, so I don't have to redo this when it comes to the alignments, unless for some reason my cutouts here don't work, because that I don't know yet. But that leads me to the front panels, and here's the front panel that goes on the top, and this one lines up really good. Perfect. This is where the shocks go through, and then here's the other one. So my no clearance, no problems at all, and all the holes line up perfect. Everything lines up good. So this, my placement was perfect for these. And then here is the other part where it'll just have a small bend because the little notches, because it kind of, the hole goes past where it starts to go down. So this will be like this, and this lines up good. I kind of checked it, and it seems like everything is going to be solid here, and I'm not going to have any clearance problems, and I'm not going to smack the wheels. So my cutouts are good. They're a little bit more play or more room on the cutouts I did on the front than on the back. Probably should have added a little bit there, but as long as they clear and they don't rub, it doesn't matter if it's a 1/16 inch or an 1/8 inch or 3/16, it's still going to clear, and I'm never going to have a problem. So with that, I am going to get these bent up and get the stuff sanded so that I can get ready for paint, and then I'll show you what paint colors I decided to come up with, because I'm going to change the paint color. I'm not going to have the light blue anymore. I'm going to go to something different, because you know what? It's an upgrade. It's a new day. It's a new rig, really, and I figured let's change it up after 3 years. So let's get this sanded and bent and come back to discuss paint. It's completely done, aside from being painted, of course. It's all bent properly. Everything lines up. I took the bolts off this side on the bottom so that I could get that piece completely on, and I'm happy to announce that everything lines up beautifully. The front cover, the spacing, while it's tight, because I only did 1.5 inches versus 1.75 inches, it does clear it. But again, I do recommend that you do 1.75 inches, and if I was to go back and do it again, I probably would do the 1.75. We'll see. But anyways, everything else lines up. The top panels line up good. So aside from the 2 mistakes that I made with the holes being moved and then overlooking this slot because it's the only one that is a problem, and not having those cut in, it's been relatively smooth for the most part. I probably have, between 6 and 8 hours into the project ultimately, and then as of right now, I'm somewhere probably around $80 to $100 with the paint that I bought and with the aluminum that I have into it, and that's kind of where we're sitting at based on this stage of the project. The only other thing I can do is I can kind of show you some profiles of the front and back by spinning it, and then some of the actual individual panel profiles real quick. Now keep in mind, this is not bolted together, so stuff can slide and move, but there you can kind of see a front profile of it pretty good. You can get an idea of the cutouts and kind of how it will look when it's laid on there. So there you go. And then let me see if I can get you a back profile look. If I can spin it enough on the back. Just so that you guys can see it, the back. So there's a back profile. So you can see kind of how the back will look. And that's and then you don't need to see the side and the top. It's, I'll look at the pictures that I have attached and you can see what the top looks like. So there you have it. There are all the skins. Now, here is the shape of the back one for anybody that cares. There's the profile, you know, the flange, this cutouts, the top with the holes that are mounts. Now, I overbent this a little bit because these holes right here, when you push them back to where they mount, it creates tension on the bottom because I'm not going to mount this with any screws. I'm just going to have it be floating. It's only going to mount with these screws here. And I don't want it to be loose and flopping, so that's why I overbent it, because it'll be like a tension once I mount it into those holes. You know, this one, only one little bend for a flange to give it some rigidity this way, because there's no bars here like there is on this one. This one has a bar that goes across. So this one itself is just flat still, and you've seen that, so it's nothing special. Then here's the front. The front doesn't have any 90s because it's angled, but nothing special, but there you go. That's kind of what it is. The little flange again to kind of keep it a little stronger that way so you get no smiling, you know. And then of course you got the final panel, the main one, the most difficult one, and the one that I think you should focus on the most and build everything off of, because that's the one that is going to, if you do it the way I do it with flanges that go around the top and the bottom, if you're just doing an end, that probably doesn't apply as much. But when you do it like this, where you have these flanges and you got to make sure these holes line up along with the holes that you have here, it can get a little bit more complex, you know, with the shape. But this is ultimately what it is. There's the top, there's the bottom, there's the inside, there's the flange that I cut. Of course, there's nothing on the back, but that ultimately, everybody, is your end panel. And I will have to get these painted, and I will say that I did pick a new color. Since it's a new rig, it's a new cover, it's a new year, I'm gonna go with a new color, and I have a couple ideas that I have floating in my head. So let's get to painting this cover, and then we'll show you how it turns out, and you guys can tell me what you think in the comments below. But let's get some painting done. Here it is, the finished cover, painted, ready to go, all done. Here's the front view for everybody. Now it's not on completely good, so it can still move, but you know, it's better than what it was when I showed you it raw. But there's the back. So here it is. This is the cover I did. What do you guys think? Do you like the color? Do you like the change? Do you like how I made it? You know, if you watch the whole video, is this something that you'd be willing to part your hard-earned money to buy? Because if you are, that's the ultimate compliment. I don't need to hear any more. So with that, I do want to put some vinyl graphics on it, I think, to doll it up a little bit more. I'm trying to create a vibe, more vibrant, more alive, because I think an H4 is going to feel more vibrant and alive when I'm playing on it. It just got it because I have 2 more axes of movement. So I'm trying to just encompass that whole feeling as part of the excitement, I guess. It's building slowly as I get further and further along. Now I've got this major leg done, so hopefully the rest goes pretty smooth and fairly quickly. We'll see how difficult the taking this apart and swapping this over is. I don't think it's too hard, but anything that's super goofy, I'm going to go in depth in a little bit to try and weed out anybody being stuck or struggling, because I'm trying to make this somewhat of a guide upgrading from the H2 to H4 at the same time. So with that, I do have a couple other colors that I kind of want to work with. Maybe an orange and a yellow. They are an analogous and a complementary color, so they should work well, because I have a bunch of other pieces that I still do need to paint now that I've changed the color completely of the base. So I'm deciding on what I want to do there. Is it a combination of vinyl, paint? Is it all just one color and then vinyl? I don't know, but you guys will see if you watch all the movies or all the videos to the end of the series, which will probably be about another 2 to 3 videos is what I'm estimating at, depending on how difficult taking it apart and putting it together is. You know, so that's really all there is to say. I will briefly touch on that I do have a couple other videos coming down the pipe. One is the wing kit video that I've been looking to make that I needed to get my H4 because the bracket for this is different. So now that I can make that bracket and get that figured out, which I will have to do to be able to mount it to the new machine, I will make a video discussing that. I am going to make this available to the public for purchase for people who have these machines that want a 4 or 5 port wing kit with wind at the rear. I will discuss more of that in that video. So if you're interested, stay tuned for that. And then I just got this because I got a really smoking deal, and I know kind of all the rubs on it and everything a little bit, but with this for $175, I felt that was a good enough deal to where I could buy it and be comfortable and happy with any shortcomings considering what it is versus the T598 standard wheel. And two, it's kind of exciting. I've never bought another wheel because this is the only wheel I've ever had that had removable that I could do that on. So it's kind of exciting, and I like the price. The price is good, and I think it'll be a nice upgrade overall, regardless of the shortcomings it has. So pay attention to that. If you've seen my TLCM versus my Raceline 3 comparison, that will give you an idea of kind of how I break comparison videos down myself versus other people out there. And really, that's kind of it. I have a last video that I'll mention is when I get this all together and get everything functioning, I'm going to do a comparison H2 to H4, same game, same level. What are the differences? What was it like? To help people who might be just going into motion simulator and debating what you want to spend. H2, H4, do an upgrade path, however you want to do it. So hopefully the videos that I do produce help people out there, or helping you make better decisions so that you can maximize your money, because that's part of this channel. Budget, value, maximizing your money, and getting the best gaming experience you can for the average everyday gamer out there. So I appreciate everybody that watches. These are a lot of work. They take a lot of time, so it's nice when I get people watching. It feels like I didn't waste my time. I appreciate the subscribers I have. I've got 16 now. Thank you for getting me to 16. I know it's a small number, but considering what I'm doing and who I'm making videos for, I'm perfectly happy with that, you know, and I'm on my way to dethrone Mr. Beast and his 500 million. Best watch out with my 16. So again, I appreciate that. If you have any questions on the technical side of the video, feel free to leave comments. Tell me what you think about anything. If you'd like, if you don't want to, more power to you. But with that, I'm going to close this out so I can get to working on other aspects and keep moving forward. So with that, Fred, Eddie the Eagle, and me, Peter V, have fun gaming.